Hey, I hope this video finds you well. I wish we were discussing music in class together, but alas, we are not. And so we're just going to do this video and explore Baroque music a little bit. I would suggest having your notes sheet out, which hopefully you have or you picked up, the music notes sheet. And as you recall, we'll hit some terms. We will come across some composers and their pieces. As you listen, jot things down that you're hearing. And especially, what makes this so different from the Reformation, the pre-Reformation, the Reformation, and the counter-Reformation music that we had heard before. And so maybe just to get a little background, let's think back to what we saw in Unit 5 and 6 for music. Let's see. Music was complicated if we're talking about pre-Reformation. Remember, we heard many composers who wrote pieces that were in Latin that used polyphony. So there were all these melodies all over the place. And it was hard to even follow a melody. I told you, I bet you're not going to be humming this song when you walk out the door because it was so complicated. And that was Martin Luther's complaint. That's what resulted in Reformation music. Remember, we listened to his piece, A Mighty Fortress is Our God, and that was in the vernacular. And it had one melody, and maybe there was a backup melody or an accompanying melody, but it actually supported the main melody. And another part of Luther, we could all sing it, and it was memorable enough that we could be humming it out the door. Um, all of these things super important because it made music more accessible to the people. And for Martin Luther, that was what the Reformation was all about. Get all these middlemen and these complicated things out of the way with an individual's connection to God. And so music for Martin Luther was really important in transforming a person's connection to God and getting the church and complicated stuff out of the way. Then, as you recall, the Counter-Reformation tried. They came up with some new pieces, but we discussed Luther probably would not be very impressed with the Counter-Reformation's efforts, the Catholic Church's efforts to simplify. Now, what was the problem with the Counter-Reformation music? Well, melodies were simpler. In fact, polyphony was banned by the Council of Trent. So all of those complicated rhythms and melodies all over the place were simplified. There was more harmony and unity, but music was still in Latin. It was still super complicated, so a normal to bad singer couldn't do it. And that's because these pieces were not meant for normal to bad singers. They were meant for choirs, good professional singers. And I think I said still in Latin, still complicated. So ultimately, Counter Reformation didn't quite hit the mark for what Martin Luther was hoping for. Okay, so now Baroque, just like we saw with art, Baroque gets more intense and exciting. It also gets to be less religious, more secular pieces. So we will get to hear some that were made for entertainment. We'll hear some religious stuff too, but we should be hearing, just like I said with art, more elaborate, more ornamental, more fanciful, more show-offy, flexy, as the kids like to say. They do say flexy. I've heard them say it. Just kidding. I'm the one who says flexy. Flex, sexy, We'll hear more of that flexy kind of music now. We'll hear more rhythmic vitality, attractive melodies, and oh my gosh, pleasurable, enjoyable types of music. Yes. Also, at this time, composers start writing large quantities of music just for entertainment, like I said, not just glory of God. On that note, even the religious music becomes more widely appealing. So, this idea that music can be enjoyable, hooray! And where would we be without that? How would we write Q squared without that kind of music? Okay, a key kind of signature of Baroque music, long, elaborate melodies with patterns that spread and evolve to be ornate, just like Baroque art. So complicated, intense, emotional. Okay, let's dive in. First one. Is this the first one? Yes, it is. Monteverdi, an Italian composer who wrote an opera seria, a piece of music that is this right? Boy, I feel like I'm off here. Okay. Uh, what we're going to hear here is a recitative. This is the idea of a single vocal line as a song speech, a recitation, if you will. This is sort of like in musicals where the characters just like sing their lines, and you're thinking nobody ever talks like that in reality. Well, that's what recitative is. That's what you see in the musicals that you love to watch. Let's check it out. This is La Encarnación de Papilla. When you listen, jot any notes down of things that you're hearing, and especially how is this different from Renaissance, Reformation, Counter Reformation? Where are you? Right here. Okay, let's stop there. You guys discuss, and we'll see if what you heard matches what I'm thinking. So, would your instructor pause this video, let you chat for a little bit, and then replay to see if it matches what I'm thinking? Okay, so you chatted. Well, what's so different here? How is this different from pre-Reformation Catholic music? Well, number one, this is fun. This is for entertainment. It's an opera. It's a play set to music that people choose to go and see for entertainment. It's a story. It's telling a story, and it's a character speaking their part. And so this should be fun. Also simple lyrics. If we spoke Italian, we will understand them, and that's another big thing for entertainment. It's important to understand. And so that's a good example of the new development of opera as a medium. Okay, next, you know this one. Pachelbel, Johann Pachelbel's canon. This is a fugue, which means flight, so you should be hearing a melody that flies. Now, we'll see with Bach that these melodies get crazy in their flight. Pachelbel, a little bit simpler fugue. So let's listen to Canon in D, and you be thinking and writing, and then you'll talk about how is this so different from Reformation type music. Okay, here we go. Pachelbel, where you at, bro? Here we are. Okay, hard to stop. So lovely. Well, pause the video, you chat. What is different? What do you hear happening here? How is this different from Reformation? Go. Okay, good. What do you got? Well, hopefully you mentioned that this is again for entertainment purposes. The counterpoint and basso continuo, the idea of that continuous lower line moving along the melody and imitation happening throughout. Maybe you didn't use those words, but that idea of the layers that are imitated throughout, beautiful and complicated, ornate, you could say, especially if we were to keep listening, it really builds in intensity, and the layers. And that's a good representation of Baroque, simpler, early Baroque music. I mentioned entertainment, a melody that you would remember. You do know it. People like it. They use it for weddings a lot. And so that's a big shift for music that we're seeing, especially from Renaissance to now. Okay, skipping ahead a little bit, Vivaldi, one of the most important Baroque composers, Italian composer. You probably know some of his pieces if you're in band or orchestra, because these are really famous because they're so awesome. He wrote this piece, or series of pieces called Four Seasons, which is early program music. The idea that music can tell a story, that it has affections, as in like emotions and feeling. And so the Four Seasons, of course, each piece goes with each season. We're going to listen to winter. You tell, or you jot down and then discuss. What are you hearing here that's different from, say, a Mighty Fortress is Our God? Let's check them out. Vivaldi, Winter. Oop. Well, I guess we're going to stop there. Pause it, talk about it, come back. Okay, what'd you think? Well, Vivaldi, Winter, amazing. Think about where we were. We were listening to Gregorian chants, and I know some of you like Gregorian chants, but this is crazy. Where would we be without Vivaldi? The intensity, the virtuosity of the person playing violin, which Vivaldi also was a virtuoso for violin. Like this is music for a whole new purpose. This is fun. I have goosebumps. And hopefully it didn't sound terrible when you listened to it, but that is a great example of Baroque. Complicated, all over the place, but for a purpose, all leading together, super climactic and intense, all about emotions. And so a great example coming from Italy of Baroque music. Antonio Vivaldi's Winter. Okay, now I think is this, nope, we got two. Bach, Johann Sebastian Bach. Uh, Yay. This guy too, if we talk Vivaldi, central for Italy, Bach is Germany's chief Baroque composer. And you know Bach. Again, you've probably heard him before. You may have played some pieces of his, but they're tough pieces because they're Baroque, they're complicated. And I would certainly say, when we talk about music, Baroque music is not the kind of music you would listen to study. You couldn't do it. It'd be too hard because the music's so intense and crazy. It'd be like listening to heavy metal and trying to read a book, which some people do that, but this music is intense. And so Bach is another composer we'll take a look at. We have two pieces from him, the Brandenburg Concerto Number 5 and Toccata and Fugue, well, two pieces within that as well. We'll check him out. He is considered the greatest musician of all time. He's sort of the founder of what would happen in the next units that we'll take a look at. He laid a lot of the groundwork. He was German Lutheran, and so we do hear some religious pieces from him, but really he kind of runs the whole gamut of types of music. But for him, each piece he would have this end, glory to God. And so it seems that he saw music as an expression that gave thanks to God, or like I think Pico della Mirandola would probably agree with Bach that when we do our best, that's how we give glory to God. He raised polyphony to a new level, as we'll hear, but I think it all works together. Like this polyphony is very different from the kind we heard with the Catholic Church. So let's take a listen. Let's do Toccata and Fugue first. I think you will enjoy. Kids are coming in and being loud. Let's hope they don't bother us in our Bach. I don't know which one we're looking for here. Toccata. Come on, girl. Now, you could certainly listen to more, but I think you get the idea, and you've probably heard that piece. But wow, this is crazy. This is way different from what we've heard before. Instrumental on the organ, super complicated. Toccata, meaning a line of music with a lot of counterpoint, meaning like different connections of notes, creating this sort of layer of sound and intense speed for sure. A lot of clashing, but working together, a lot of rapid movement up and down the scale. And so this is a good example of strong Baroque music. Pachelbel kind of started it. Bach exploded it. That's a formal definition, by the way. Description, yes. Okay, let's check out another Bach. Let's hear fugue. Again, meaning flight. Here we go. I hate you. Try again. Okay, I don't think we're going to be connecting with apps. We'll skip it. You check out Fugue, but I know that you know Fugue. Give that a listen. Great example of Baroque music. Let's see if we can get Brandenburg Concerto. Here we go. Okay, we're stopping that there. Baroque music, I love it, but it's hard for me to listen to sometimes. A little bit intense, a little bit fast. You know me and my slow piano music. That's where I'm talking about. But Brandenburg Concerto, another good example of Baroque music coming from Johann Sebastian Bach. And finally, Handel, German composer, also wrote some pieces from this era. He was a mutual admirer of Bach. Bach said, "Handel is the only person I would wish to see before I die, and the only person I would wish to be were I not Bach." So they really liked each other and got along well. Handel was important for what's coming up too in our next unit, in our classical unit, where we'll see Mozart and Beethoven rely on some of the groundwork that Handel started. Okay, so let's check out hornpipe from modern music and be thinking, how is this different from the things we've heard already, and especially from last unit? And I'm pretty sure you know that piece as well. But this is a good example of Baroque music coming from Germany, but you might have heard this one in the context of England, and that is because it was requested to be composed by King George I of England. And the story is George liked it so much that he had it repeated 3 times. This is a good example of what Baroque is. Fancy, elaborate, to me, too loud and obnoxious and annoying, but people like it. It's just not what I try to listen to when I'm trying to chill out or do some work. It gets me kind of edgy, and I don't really enjoy that feeling. But not trying to, attack Baroque. That's just what it is. And so that, I think, is where we're going to stop. I hope that you suffered through this video and made the best out of it. I am so pumped to see you when we come back from spring break. I hope that you have a wonderful spring break and try to do a lot of things that make yourself feel good, because you deserve it. And we are not going to make it through the last quarter if you are not charged up and feeling good. Just kidding. We'll make it no matter what. But it will help if you feel happy. All right. Take care. Reach out if you need anything.